The morning sun cast golden rays across London as the city prepared for another significant royal event at Westminster Abbey. Inside Kensington Palace, the Wales family began their day with careful preparation. Princess Kate stood before her mirror, adjusting the final details of her elegant navy blue coat dress, while Prince William reviewed the schedule one last time. Their children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, were being helped into their formal attire by their nanny. The atmosphere in the palace was both excited and calm. Kate had chosen her outfit weeks earlier, working closely with her stylist to ensure every detail would photograph beautifully. The sapphire earrings she wore had belonged to Princess Diana, a touching tribute that would not go unnoticed by royal watchers. William straightened his military uniform, the same one he had worn to previous state occasions, its medals catching the light as he moved. In the nursery, young Prince Louis was having his hair combed while asking endless questions about where they were going. Charlotte, now confident in her royal duties, was helping her youngest brother understand why today was special. George, as the future king, carried himself with increasing maturity, though he still showed glimpses of the playful boy he was at heart. The palace staff moved efficiently around them, ensuring every detail was perfect. Security teams had been coordinating for weeks, mapping every route and checking every protocol. The cars that would transport the family had been inspected multiple times, their route to Westminster Abbey cleared and secured. Kate took a moment to speak with each child individually, reminding them of their behavior expectations while also reassuring them that today would be memorable for wonderful reasons. She had learned over the years how to balance the formal requirements of royal life with the natural needs of growing children. William watched with admiration as his wife handled the situation with grace and warmth. The breakfast that morning was light but nutritious, designed to give the family energy without causing any discomfort during the long ceremony ahead. The children ate carefully, mindful of their clean clothes, while their parents reviewed the order of events once more. The Abbey service would last approximately 2 hours, followed by photographs and brief conversations with other attendees. Palace photographers captured some informal moments of the family's preparation, images that would later be shared with the public to show the more personal side of royal life. These behind-the-scenes glimpses had become increasingly important for maintaining the public's connection with the monarchy. As departure time approached, the family gathered in the main hallway of Kensington Palace. Kate checked her small clutch bag to ensure she had everything needed for the day, while William confirmed with his private secretary that all arrangements were proceeding smoothly. The children stood together, looking remarkably grown up in their formal wear. The lead protection officer gave the final security briefing, confirming that crowds had already begun gathering along the route to Westminster Abbey. Public interest in the family remained incredibly high, with people traveling from across the country hoping to catch a glimpse of the royals. The police had established barriers and designated viewing areas to manage the expected crowd safely. Kate bent down to adjust Louis's collar one final time, whispering words of encouragement in his ear. Charlotte straightened her shoulders, practicing the posture her mother had taught her for formal occasions. George took his position as the eldest child, ready to help guide his younger siblings through the day's events. The morning light streamed through the palace windows as the family prepared to leave their private residence and step into their public roles. Each family member understood their part in the day's ceremony, from William's official duties to the children's need to represent the future of the monarchy with dignity and charm. Staff members lined the corridor to wish the family well, a tradition that had developed over the years as a way of showing support before major public appearances. The household had grown to feel like an extended family, with many staff members having worked with the Wales family since the children were much younger. Outside, the sound of gathering crowds could already be heard, even from within the palace walls. Royal fans had arrived early to secure the best viewing positions, many carrying British flags and cameras. The excitement was building throughout London as news outlets prepared their coverage of the event. Kate took William's arm as they prepared to walk to their waiting car, the children falling naturally into formation behind them. The family had practiced these moments many times, understanding that their coordination and presentation would be scrutinized by media around the world. The final checks were complete, the schedule confirmed, and the family ready. As they approached the door that would take them from their private world into the public eye, Each family member took a quiet moment to prepare mentally for the hours ahead. The morning preparation had gone smoothly, setting a positive tone for what promised to be a significant day in their royal calendar. Palace staff opened the doors, and the Wales family stepped forward together, ready to fulfill their duties while maintaining the warmth and authenticity that had endeared them to the British public. The journey to Westminster Abbey was about to begin, marking another chapter in their ongoing story as working members of the royal family. The royal convoy pulled away from Kensington Palace with practiced precision, 3 black vehicles moving in perfect formation through the London streets. Prince William and Princess Kate sat in the main car with their children, while protection officers occupied the accompanying vehicles. The morning traffic had been carefully managed to ensure smooth passage to Westminster Abbey. Inside their car, the family settled into the rhythm of the journey. Kate pointed out landmarks to Louis, who pressed his face to the window with childlike wonder at the crowds gathering along their route. Charlotte sat properly with her hands folded, occasionally waving when she spotted people with British flags. George looked out thoughtfully, already understanding the weight of public attention that would follow him throughout his life. The crowds grew thicker as they approached central London. Barriers lined the streets, held back by police officers who smiled and waved at the royal children. Many people had been waiting for hours, some camping overnight to secure prime viewing spots. The dedication of royal supporters never ceased to amaze the family, and they made sure to acknowledge as many well-wishers as possible. William spoke quietly with Kate about the ceremony details, while keeping one eye on their children's comfort. The drive gave them precious minutes to transition from their private family time to their public royal roles. Kate used these moments to remind the children about walking pace, where to look during photographs, and how to respond if anyone spoke to them directly. Street vendors had set up along the route, selling royal memorabilia and British flags. The entrepreneurial spirit of Londoners always emerged during royal events, with everything from commemorative mugs to T-shirts featuring the family's photographs. The economic impact of royal occasions rippled through the city, benefiting countless small businesses. As they passed through Parliament Square, the children could see Westminster Abbey growing larger in the distance. The ancient building stood majestically against the London sky, its twin towers reaching toward the clouds. This would be Louis's first major ceremony at the Abbey. While Charlotte and George had attended several previous events there, Kate checked her phone quickly for any last-minute schedule changes, while William reviewed his notes about the people they would meet. Royal events required careful attention to protocol, with specific orders of precedence and particular greetings for different dignitaries. Every handshake and conversation would be observed and analyzed by media commentators. The families, car-passed groups of international journalists who had traveled to London specifically to cover their appearance. Camera crews from dozens of countries lined the route, testament to the global fascination with the British royal family. The children had grown accustomed to the constant presence of cameras, learning to maintain natural expressions despite the attention. Security motorcycles flanked their convoy, their riders in constant communication with command centers monitoring the entire route. Every aspect of the journey had been planned and rehearsed, with backup routes prepared in case of any unexpected circumstances. The protection of the royal family required coordination between multiple law enforcement agencies. As they neared Westminster, Kate made final adjustments to the children's appearance, smoothing Charlotte's hair and straightening George's tie. These motherly gestures happened automatically, even during formal occasions. William smiled at his wife's attention to detail, appreciating how she balanced royal protocol with genuine maternal care. The streets around Westminster Abbey had been transformed into a secure zone, with police cordons extending several blocks in each direction. Only pre-approved vehicles could enter the area, and every person in the vicinity had been security checked. The level of preparation required for royal events had increased significantly over the years. Through the car windows, they could see the Abbey's grounds filling with distinguished guests arriving for the ceremony. Diplomats, government officials, and religious leaders stepped from their vehicles in formal attire. The diversity of attendees reflected the Abbey's role as a venue for events of national and international significance. Kate noticed some familiar faces among the crowd and pointed them out quietly to William. Many of the guests were people they had met at previous royal functions, creating an extended network of relationships that spanned politics, charity work, and international diplomacy. These connections formed an important part of their royal duties. The children began to show signs of anticipation as the abbey grew closer. Charlotte asked questions about the ceremony, while George reviewed the order of service that had been explained to him earlier. Louis remained fascinated by the crowds, counting the Union Jack flags he could see from his window. Their convoy turned the final corner, and Westminster Abbey came into full view. The building's Gothic architecture dominated the landscape, its stone walls bearing witness to nearly 1,000 years of British history. Coronations, royal weddings, and state funerals had all taken place within its walls, making every royal visit feel connected to centuries of tradition. Media photographers positioned outside the Abbey entrance began preparing their equipment as the royal cars approached. These moments of arrival would be captured from dozens of angles, with images distributed worldwide within minutes. The family had learned to move naturally despite the intense photographic attention. As their car slowed for the final approach to the Abbey entrance, William took Kate's hand briefly, a small gesture of support before they stepped into their public roles. The children straightened in their seats, ready to represent their family and the institution of monarchy with the grace they had been taught from their earliest years. The royal car came to a smooth stop directly in front of Westminster Abbey's Great West Door, where a red carpet had been laid out for the family's arrival. A hush fell over the gathered crowd as anticipation reached its peak. Protection officers stepped out first, their eyes scanning the area one final time before nodding their approval for the family to emerge. Prince William opened his door and stepped onto the red carpet, his military uniform crisp and his bearing confident. He turned immediately to help Kate from the car, offering his hand as she gracefully emerged in her elegant navy coat dress. The sapphire earrings caught the morning light, creating small flashes of brilliance that photographers captured instantly. Princess Charlotte was next to step out, moving with the poise of a young lady who had been attending formal events since she was a toddler. She smoothed her dress automatically and took her position beside her mother, her eyes bright with interest at the historic surroundings. Prince George followed, standing tall and serious, already showing signs of the future king he would one day become. Prince Louis bounded out of the car with the energy typical of his age, but quickly composed himself when he saw the formal atmosphere around him. Kate placed a gentle guiding hand on his shoulder, helping him find his place in the family formation. The children naturally arranged themselves according to age and protocol, a routine they had practiced many times. The crowd beyond the security barriers erupted in cheers and applause as the family stood together on the Abbey steps. Union Jack flags waved enthusiastically, and many people called out words of support and affection. The family turned toward the crowd, waving and smiling in acknowledgement of the warm reception. Abbey officials waited respectfully at the entrance, led by the dean who would conduct the service. These clergy members had prepared extensively for the royal visit, ensuring every detail of protocol would be observed correctly. The Abbey's connection to the royal family stretched back centuries, making each visit feel like a homecoming. Kate bent down briefly to adjust something on Louis's outfit, a motherly gesture that humanized the formal occasion. These small, natural moments always resonated with the public, showing that royal parents faced the same challenges as any other family when it came to managing young children at formal events. The family began their walk up the Abbey steps, moving at a measured pace that allowed photographers to capture clear images while maintaining the dignity appropriate for the sacred setting. William and Kate flanked their children protectively, ready to offer guidance if any of them became overwhelmed by the attention. Inside the Abbey, hundreds of guests were already seated in the ancient pews, their conversations creating a gentle murmur that echoed off the stone walls. Government ministers, foreign diplomats, charity representatives, and religious leaders from various faiths had gathered for the ceremony. The diversity of the congregation reflected the Abbey's role as a place where the sacred and secular intersected. As the family crossed the threshold into the Abbey, the temperature difference was immediately noticeable. The thick stone walls kept the interior cool even on warm days, and the atmosphere carried the weight of centuries of worship and ceremony. Candles flickered in the side chapels, adding to the sense of reverence and history. The Abbey's choir, dressed in traditional robes, prepared for their performance during the service. These singers had rehearsed for weeks, knowing that their voices would need to fill the vast space while maintaining the clarity necessary for the television broadcast that would reach millions of viewers worldwide. Charlotte's eyes widened as she took in the soaring Gothic arches and the intricate stone carvings that decorated every surface. Despite having visited the Abbey before, the building's grandeur never failed to impress even the most experienced royal family members. The stained glass windows cast colorful patterns on the floor, creating a kaleidoscope of light and shadow. George walked with increasing confidence, understanding that many eyes were upon him as the future heir to the throne. His parents had prepared him well for public appearances, teaching him to maintain composure while remaining natural and approachable. The balance between royal dignity and human warmth was something he was learning to master. Louis remained close to his mother, occasionally reaching for her hand when the formal atmosphere felt overwhelming. Kate responded naturally to his needs, providing reassurance through small touches and encouraging smiles. Her ability to fulfill royal duties while remaining an attentive mother had earned widespread public admiration. The Abbey's acoustics meant that every footstep and whispered word carried throughout the space. The family moved carefully, their formal shoes clicking softly against the stone floors that had been walked upon by kings and queens for nearly a millennium. Each step connected them to the long line of royals who had preceded them. Television cameras positioned throughout the Abbey captured every angle of their entrance, transmitting images to news networks around the world. The global audience for royal events had grown significantly with the advent of social media, allowing people from every continent to feel connected to British royal traditions. Abbey staff guided the family toward their designated seats, which had been positioned to provide clear sight lines for both the television cameras and the other congregation members. The careful choreography of royal events required extensive planning to ensure that protocol was observed, while creating meaningful moments for all attendees. As they approached their pew, William and Kate exchanged brief greetings with other dignitaries who had arrived earlier. These interactions, though formal, reflected genuine relationships built over years of shared public service. The network of connections within the establishment helped create continuity in British public life. The family settled into their seats as the final guests took their places throughout the Abbey. The ceremony was about to begin, and the ancient building filled with an expectant silence. Every person present understood they were participating in something that connected the present moment to centuries of British history and tradition. The ceremony began with the deep, resonant tones of the Abbey's ancient organ filling the sacred space. The sound reverberated through the stone walls and soaring arches, creating an atmosphere of solemnity and grandeur that had marked royal occasions for generations. Prince William and Princess Kate sat attentively in their front row seats, while their children listened with varying degrees of focus appropriate to their ages. Princess Charlotte sat perfectly still, her hands folded in her lap as she had been taught, her eyes moving between the ornate altar and the colorful stained glass windows above. The morning light streaming through the medieval glass created dancing patterns of color across the Abbey floor, and she watched with quiet fascination as the light shifted with the movement of clouds outside. Prince George maintained the serious demeanor expected of him, following the service in the program he held carefully in his hands. As the future king, his presence at such ceremonies served multiple purposes: honoring the occasion, representing the continuity of the monarchy, and providing him with experiences that would shape his understanding of his future role. Prince Louis alternated between periods of good behavior and moments of typical childhood restlessness. Kate kept a watchful eye on him, occasionally placing a gentle hand on his knee when he began to fidget. Her skill at managing young children during formal events had developed through years of experience, and she handled the situation with grace that went largely unnoticed by the congregation. The Dean of Westminster began the service with words that echoed through the Abbey, his voice carrying clearly to every corner of the vast building. The acoustics, perfected over centuries, ensured that even whispered prayers could be heard throughout the space. Every word carried weight in this place where kings had been crowned and queens had wed. The Abbey's choir rose as one, their voices joining in harmony that seemed to lift toward the vaulted ceiling. The children had heard royal choirs many times before, but the power of voices trained in the Westminster tradition never failed to capture their attention. Even Louis became still, listening to the ethereal sounds that filled the air around them. Government ministers and foreign ambassadors filled the pews behind the royal family, their formal attire creating a sea of dark suits and elegant dresses. Many of these dignitaries had traveled specifically to attend the ceremony, understanding the importance of being present for significant royal occasions. The gathering represented the intersection of faith, governance, and tradition that defined British public life. Kate's choice of outfit had been carefully considered not just for its elegance, but for its appropriateness to the sacred setting. The deep navy color showed respect for the solemnity of the occasion, while the classic cut ensured she would look timeless in the photographs that would record this day for history. The sapphire earrings added a touch of brilliance that honored both the ceremony and her late mother-in-law's memory. William stood when the congregation was directed to rise, his military bearing evident even in this civilian setting. His connection to the armed forces, developed through years of service, informed his understanding of ceremony and protocol. The precision with which he moved reflected both his military training and his royal upbringing. The service included readings from distinguished guests, each chosen for their ability to represent different aspects of British society. The diversity of voices, from government officials to charity leaders to representatives of various faiths, illustrated the Abbey's role as a gathering place for the entire nation during moments of significance. Charlotte whispered a question to her mother about one of the Abbey's architectural features, and Kate provided a quiet answer that satisfied her daughter's curiosity without disrupting the ceremony. These small interactions showed how the family maintained their natural relationships even in the most formal settings. Ancient rituals were observed with the same precision that had marked royal ceremonies for centuries. Every gesture, every word, every musical note had been carefully planned to honor both tradition and the specific purpose of the day's gathering. The continuity of these practices connected the present ceremony to countless similar occasions throughout British history. The television cameras captured every moment with discreet professionalism, their operators understanding that they were documenting history as much as broadcasting current events. The images would be preserved in archives and studied by future generations seeking to understand how the royal family fulfilled their duties. In the early 21st century, security personnel remained alert throughout the ceremony, their presence barely noticeable to the congregation, but providing essential protection for all attendees. The balance between accessibility and safety required constant vigilance, especially during events that attracted global attention and large crowds. George's behavior throughout the ceremony demonstrated the success of his parents' efforts to prepare him for his future role. He participated appropriately in each part of the service while remaining natural and unstudied. The challenge of raising a future king in the modern world required balancing tradition with the need for authenticity. The organ music swelled during particularly significant moments, the instrument's full power filling the abbey with sound that seemed to emerge from the very stones themselves. The organist, chosen for this honor from among Britain's finest musicians, played with technical precision and emotional understanding that elevated the entire ceremony. As the service continued, each member of the royal family demonstrated their individual approach to formal occasions. William's steady leadership, Kate's graceful attention to both ceremony and children, Charlotte's growing confidence, George's developing sense of responsibility, and Louis's charming combination of good behavior and childish spontaneity created a family portrait that resonated with observers around the world. The Abbey's history seemed to live and breathe around them, connecting this moment to the coronations, weddings, and memorial services that had shaped the nation's story. Every royal family member understood that they were temporary custodians of traditions that stretched far beyond their individual lives, carrying forward customs that would hopefully continue for generations to come. As the ceremony reached its conclusion, the abbey filled with the magnificent sound of the final hymn, sung by the entire congregation. Prince William's strong voice could be heard joining the chorus while Princess Kate sang softly beside him. The children participated according to their abilities, with Princess Charlotte following along in her hymn book and Prince George adding his voice to the collective song of praise. Prince Louis had managed to sit through most of the service with remarkable patience for someone his age, though Kate had needed to quietly redirect his attention several times. His occasional fidgets and whispered questions had actually endeared him further to the congregation, many of whom were parents themselves and appreciated the challenge of keeping young children engaged during formal events. The dean offered closing prayers that seemed to hover in the ancient air before settling into the hearts of those gathered. The words spoke of service, duty, and the continuation of traditions that bound the nation together across generations. Every person present understood they were participating in something larger than themselves, connecting their individual lives to the ongoing story of their country. As the service ended, the organ began playing a recessional piece that would accompany the family's exit from the abbey. The music was both triumphant and reverent, perfectly capturing the dual nature of royal occasions that combined celebration with solemn responsibility. The sound filled every corner of the ancient building, creating an atmosphere of majesty that would linger long after the final notes faded. The royal family rose from their seats with practiced coordination, each member knowing their role in the carefully choreographed departure. William stood first, followed by Kate, who helped ensure the children were ready to process out of the abbey in proper order. Years of attending formal events had taught them to move as a unit, while maintaining their individual personalities. Abbey officials took their positions to guide the family's exit, their movements as precise as those of the royals themselves. These clergy members understood that their role extended beyond the spiritual aspects of the ceremony to include the practical management of protocol and timing. Their experience with royal events ensured that every detail would unfold smoothly. The congregation remained standing as the royal family began their procession down the abbey's central aisle. The ancient stones beneath their feet had supported countless royal processions over the centuries, connecting this moment to the long line of monarchs and their families who had walked this same path. Each step carried historical weight while moving toward a modern future. Charlotte walked with increasing confidence, her posture reflecting the deportment training she had received, while still maintaining the natural grace of childhood. Her ability to balance formal behavior with genuine charm had already made her a favorite with the public, and her performance at this ceremony would only enhance that reputation. George maintained the serious demeanor that was becoming his trademark at public events, understanding even at his young age that his future role required a different level of public behavior than that expected of his siblings. His parents had worked carefully to help him understand his responsibilities, without burdening him with expectations beyond his years. The television cameras followed their progress down the aisle, capturing images that would be broadcast around the world within minutes. The global audience for royal events had grown exponentially with the advent of social media, allowing people from every continent to participate virtually in British royal traditions. As they walked, Kate acknowledged familiar faces in the congregation with subtle nods and smiles, maintaining the personal connections that made royal events more than mere ceremony. These relationships, built over years of public service, formed the foundation of the monarchy's continued relevance in modern British life. The Abbey's magnificent architecture provided a stunning backdrop for their procession, with Gothic arches framing each step of their journey toward the entrance. The interplay of ancient stone and modern ceremony created visual poetry that photographers and videographers captured from dozens of angles. Security. Personnel maintained their discreet presence throughout the exit, their professional vigilance ensuring the family's safety without disrupting the ceremonial atmosphere. The balance between protection and accessibility required constant attention, particularly during events that attracted international media coverage and large crowds. William's military training was evident in his bearing as he led his family from the abbey, his steady pace and upright posture reflecting years of ceremonial experience. His role as both a working royal and a military officer had prepared him well for occasions that required precision and dignity. The organ music swelled to accompany their final steps through the abbey, the sound seeming to push them gently toward the bright daylight waiting beyond the ancient doors. The transition from the sacred interior to the public exterior represented, more than a physical movement, it was a return from the spiritual and traditional aspects of monarchy to its very public and contemporary responsibilities. Staff members positioned throughout the abbey ensured that every aspect of the departure proceeded according to plan, their coordinated efforts invisible to most observers, but essential to the ceremony's success. Years of experience with royal events had taught them to anticipate needs and solve problems before they became visible to the public. As they approached the great west door, the sound of the waiting crowd became audible even through the thick stone walls. The enthusiasm of royal supporters had not diminished during the ceremony, and many people had waited patiently for hours just to catch another glimpse of the family as they departed the abbey. The family paused briefly at the threshold between the interior and exterior of the abbey, a moment that allowed them to transition mentally from the sacred ceremony they had just experienced to the public engagement that awaited them outside. This brief pause also provided photographers with an opportunity to capture the family, framed by the abbey's historic doorway. Louis reached for his mother's hand as they prepared to step outside, instinctively understanding that the next phase of their public appearance would require additional support. Kate responded immediately to his need, providing the reassurance that would help him handle the excitement and noise of the crowd waiting beyond the doors. The royal family emerged from Westminster Abbey into brilliant London sunshine, the contrast between the cool stone interior and the warm outdoor air immediately noticeable. The crowd beyond the security barriers erupted into enthusiastic cheers and applause, Union Jack flags waving energetically as people strained to catch sight of their beloved royals. The sound was overwhelming and joyful, representing the genuine affection that the British public felt for Prince William, Princess Kate, and their children. Kate blinked briefly in the bright light, her hand instinctively moving to shield her eyes before she remembered the photographers who would capture every gesture. Years of public appearances had taught her to manage these transitions smoothly, and she quickly adapted to the outdoor setting while maintaining her composed demeanor. The sapphire earrings sparkled brilliantly in the sunlight, creating points of light that photographers captured from multiple angles. Prince Louis's eyes widened at the sight and sound of the enthusiastic crowd, his small hand gripping his mother's more tightly as he processed the scale of public attention focused on his family. The noise level was significant, with hundreds of voices calling out greetings, expressions of love, and requests for waves. Kate bent down slightly to offer him reassuring words, her maternal instincts operating seamlessly alongside her royal duties. Princess Charlotte stood tall beside her parents, her confidence evident as she waved naturally to the crowd. Her genuine smile and poised bearing had already made her a favorite with royal watchers, and her performance during this public appearance would only enhance that reputation. She had learned to find individual faces in the crowd to wave to, making her acknowledgments feel personal rather than generic. Prince George maintained his serious composure while still managing to appear approachable and natural. His understanding of his future role was developing steadily, and he demonstrated remarkable maturity in handling the public attention that followed his every appearance. The balance between royal dignity and youthful authenticity was something he was mastering with each public event. The family paused on the abbey steps for the traditional photographs that would document this occasion for posterity. Professional photographers positioned themselves at various angles to capture the family group against the magnificent backdrop of Westminster Abbey's Gothic facade. These images would appear in newspapers and magazines around the world, becoming part of the historical record of the British royal family in the early 21st century. William stood protectively, close to his family while acknowledging the crowd with waves and smiles that appeared completely natural. His experience as a working royal had taught him to project warmth and accessibility, while maintaining the dignity appropriate to his position. The crowd's response to his presence was immediate and enthusiastic, reflecting his popularity as the future king. Security personnel remained alert but unobtrusive, their professional vigilance ensuring the family's safety without diminishing the public nature of the occasion. The balance between protection and accessibility required constant attention, particularly during events that attracted large crowds and international media coverage. Their discreet presence allowed the family to interact naturally with the public. Abbey officials stood respectfully nearby, having fulfilled their role in hosting the royal family for the ceremony. The successful coordination of the event reflected months of planning and preparation, with every detail carefully considered to ensure that protocol was observed while creating meaningful moments for all participants. Their satisfaction was evident in their relaxed demeanor as the public portion of the event proceeded smoothly. The crowd's enthusiasm showed no signs of diminishing as the family spent several minutes acknowledging the well-wishers who had waited hours for this moment. Many people had traveled significant distances to be present for the royal appearance, some camping overnight to secure prime viewing positions. The dedication of royal supporters never ceased to amaze the family, and they made genuine efforts to acknowledge as many individuals as possible. Kate's natural warmth was evident as she spotted children in the crowd and made special efforts to wave to them. Her own experience as a mother had deepened her connection with families in the public, and these interactions felt authentic rather than performative. The crowd responded with increased enthusiasm whenever she paid special attention to the younger spectators. Television crews from multiple countries captured every moment of the family's public appearance, transmitting images that would reach millions of viewers worldwide. The global fascination with the British royal family had grown significantly in recent years, making events like this one occasions of international interest rather than merely national celebrations. The children's behavior throughout the extended public appearance demonstrated the success of their parents' efforts to prepare them for royal life while preserving their natural personalities. Charlotte's confident waves, George's serious dignity, and Louis's charming combination of excitement and slight overwhelm created a family portrait that resonated with observers around the world. As the time came to conclude their public appearance, the family began moving toward their waiting cars. The crowd's cheers intensified, as if sensing that their opportunity to see the royals was coming to an end. Many people called out personal messages of support and affection, their voices carrying genuine emotion that reflected the deep connection between the royal family and the British people. The return journey to their cars was managed with the same precision that had marked their arrival, with security personnel ensuring clear pathways while allowing maximum visibility for the waiting crowd. The family's natural grace under public scrutiny had been developed through years of experience, and they handled the attention with warmth and dignity. William helped Kate into their car while ensuring the children were safely seated, his protective instincts evident even in this very public setting. The family's genuine care for each other, visible even during formal occasions, had contributed significantly to their popularity with the public. These authentic moments of family interaction humanized their royal roles. As their convoy prepared to depart Westminster Abbey, the family took final moments to wave to the crowd from their car windows. The enthusiastic response from the gathered supporters provided a perfect conclusion to a successful royal appearance, leaving both the family and the public with positive memories of a shared experience that connected tradition with contemporary British life. The day had demonstrated once again why the royal family remained such a cherished institution in British society.